This week on Inside Boulder News, City provides FEMA with first flood damage assessments, hundreds of volunteers provide valuable public service, and local resource warriors set a new standard for design using only reclaimed materials. Welcome to Inside Boulder News. I'm Mike Benuelos. The floodwaters that swept through our region in September caused more than $49 million in damage to City of Boulder buildings, roads, parks, and other public property. That's according to a preliminary assessment provided to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, last week. City officials expect that the actual cost will be higher because some areas remain underwater or debris. But the initial assessment is an important first step in the city seeking federal disaster relief. Depending on the level of damage, local communities may be eligible for reimbursement of 75% to 80% of many of the costs related to the flood. On Tuesday, the city manager told council that Boulder hired a firm that specializes in helping communities navigate the FEMA process. While the city is working with FEMA to offset the impact on taxpayer dollars, it's important for home and business owners to know that these estimates do not include damage to private property. In order for individuals to be eligible for aid, they must register with FEMA. This can be done in person at the Disaster Assistance Center on Arapahoe Avenue or online at disasterassistance.gov. If there's such a thing as silver lining in natural disasters, it's most likely to be found in the generosity of strangers. Within days of the flooding, both the city and county became ground zero for unbelievable volunteer initiatives. Assistance has come from a variety of organizations. Inside Boulder News visited with one such group, whose members are rolling up their sleeves to help devastated homeowners.
You've had 16,000 homes in Colorado flooded, and so our teams will go in at no charge to help people that cannot help themselves, to take all the debris out of the homes, all the flooded materials, and then we'll go in and take all the wallboard, the sheetrock out, and remove all of that, and then spray the thing with shockwave, which will kill bacteria and mold. And we'll do that for homeowners. And we know we only have about 45 to 60 days before a real hard winter really sets in.
In addition to these group efforts, many individuals are seeking ways to help as well. Last week, more than 200 volunteers participated in efforts along open space and mountain parks trails and in city parks. They may be making more of a contribution than they know.
Volunteer contributions are incredibly helpful for a number of reasons. Obviously, the time that people are putting in at parks and open space trails and other beloved parts of our community make a real difference for those specific areas. But what might be less obvious is that you're also making a financial contribution. One of the things that we've learned is that while city governments can collect reimbursement from federal authorities like FEMA for disaster recovery and disaster assistance, that aid is limited to about 75%. In general, communities like the City of Boulder have to come up with the other 25%. Well, we're allowed to use volunteer hours as part of our total cost. This means that the time you give to your local community can really help us leverage limited taxpayer dollars to do even more repairs throughout Boulder. It's really important that people do sign up through official city channels because we do have to be able to provide clear documentation to FEMA, but it's yet another way that you can make a real impact here in our community. And given the spirit of giving that we've already seen in Boulder and the spirit of giving that we know exists here, we're hopeful this will make a meaningful difference.
Another city project is planned for this weekend at the Boulder Reservoir. Open Space and Mountain Parks officials have said they hope to offer up to 4 opportunities a week, weather permitting. Interested volunteers can find out more by going to boulderfloodinfo.net and selecting the tab called Volunteer Opportunities. More than 1,700 people were airlifted to safety by the distinctive Black Hawk and Chinook helicopters at the height of the rescue operations last month. Both military and civilian aircraft were flying out of a seldom noticed city resource, which overnight became the center of evacuation operations during the flood disaster. Intern reporter Morgan Boydston has more on the story.
As soon as the sun came up is when we realized how critical this was going to be.
It was 2:30 in the morning on Wednesday the 11th when Tim Head got the call. As manager of the Boulder Municipal Airport, Tim was first to be notified of the assistance needed for the disaster Boulder was about to face. The incident was quickly upgraded, and they advised by the next morning that FEMA crews from all over the United States would be coming in.
Location, is so key when it comes to a disaster. One of the things you also want to consider is having people in an area where they can make the right decision. Basically everything you can think of was all located in one spot, and that was here at the Boulder Airport.
10 military and 4 contractor helicopters were flying in and out of the Boulder Airport amidst the thunder and lightning. But terrible weather was not the only dangerous condition for rescue teams.
Imagine the canyons, Left Hand Canyon, Boulder Canyon. There is not that much room in the air to operate, and so getting that coordinating and make sure that we kept our flyers safe was another challenge we faced. Just going through those grids, and if anybody waved them down or had a SOS or whatever on the ground, they went in and gathered them up.
It took a huge coordinated effort to rescue over 2,000 people by air and heavy equipment. Many of the evacuees were taken here, to the Boulder Municipal Airport.
When we arrived at the facility, we witnessed only remnants of the chaos. Tim helped paint a picture of what it looked like just 48 hours before.
We pretty much used every square foot of the airport, grass areas, anything we could give them to help support this effort. So they were just so thankful that we had an airport here in Boulder that they could base out of.
In addition to serving as a reliable emergency operations center, the Boulder Airport contributes about $60 million to the city economy every year. Boulder has long been a community that cares about reducing waste. And last weekend, teams of creative designers demonstrated just how much can be accomplished by using reclaimed building materials and borrowed tools. 9 teams competed in Resource Wars, a first-of-its-kind competition here in Boulder.
Resource Boulder, this is Siobhan.
A lot of times when you think about recycling, you think about the stuff that's not going into the landfill, but you don't think about the creativity and the fun and the functionality. Resource Wars that happened last week was an incredible event. It was 15 hours, 9 design teams, all coming together to really bring design imagination into this space so you could walk into Resource and see all the potential in the materials rather than just seeing it as scrap. You actually see it as sculpture and design and the kind of things that you might want in your own home.
The City Council and the City of Boulder had a lot of foresight to even visualize Recycle Row, a place for people to come with recycled materials, whether it's architectural salvage and it's coming to Resource, or hard to recycle materials, and that goes to EcoCycle, which will be our neighbor on this facility, with the idea that it would take Boulder towards being a zero-waste city. The City of Boulder Leads Division has also been instrumental in working day-to-day with us to really make Resource our community hub for anyone who wants to not only donate used building materials, but also purchase them and be inspired by what you can do with them for their home or office. We're now taking about 4 million pounds of recycled architectural salvage and selling it through here on an annual basis.
In addition to building materials, Resource also offers an extensive tool lending library. More information about Resource is available online. Thanks for watching Inside Boulder News. Stay in touch with us on Facebook and Twitter by submitting news tips and questions. You can also sign up to receive video updates right in your inbox. Just go to boulderchannel8.com and click on subscribe.